Hi, parents. How are you all doing? I hope you're not overwhelmed. And that word overwhelmed is something that I want to look at briefly. So, we have learners, we have children who become overwhelmed, and then depending on the stimuli, they just can't take it all in. And so we had this thing from ages ago where, and some people still use it and say, oh, there's a complete meltdown. What's a meltdown? If you're really overwhelmed, there's too much input, you're receiving a lot of information, and you don't know how to handle it, you become overwhelmed. If you aren't able to vocalize and say what the challenge is, what happens? It gets escalated, the situation. So maybe you have a learner that is asking for, or you've given them maybe their iPad or some digital thing, or even the TV or some meal, something that they really like, or maybe a situation they don't want to engage in, and we're trying to get them to either stop it or engage in this response, and they don't quite know how to get the words across to say either I've had enough or stop or whatever it is that they need to let us know. And so they engage in the tantrum. So they may go arms flailing, stomping the food, fall on the floor, whatever form it looks like. They are trying to communicate through that behavior, either their dislike or to request for more of that situation or that stimulus that you're taking away from them. And so when they can't communicate what's going on, and the situation keeps escalating because they're trying to communicate through their behavior, and we're looking at it and saying to them, oh, stop it, get up, whatever the response is to that behavior. They're not getting the input, they're not getting the reinforcement. We're not communicating to them, they're not getting the answer they want. And so this whole situation keeps escalating. Imagine you boiling egg and it cracks, or rice, and then the pot is frothing. What happens? The pressure builds up, it's bubbling more, and then you get all this nice thing overflowing, right? Are we going to say the rice had a meltdown? No. It's just been overwhelmed. The pot has been overwhelmed. So this individual is overwhelmed from not, the situation not being managed properly. And so their mode of communication keeps going higher and higher. So the more we're trying to say calm down in that situation, the higher. And so we have this situation that spirals out of control. Okay, so that's really what a meltdown, like everybody says, looks like. But it's just a situation where the child or the individual has become overwhelmed by whatever input. Think of the five senses. So we're looking at either they're having the stimulus is visual, it's auditory, it's gusturial, olfactory, any of those things that affects the five senses, and they don't have the ability, or they don't have the know-how, they don't know how to communicate that this is a bit too much for me, and so they just sit there, and whatever topography of behavior you get is still their way of saying to you, this is too much. I'd like to say it's not a meltdown, it's just that they're overwhelmed and unable to communicate that situation the way that we so-called neurotypical would. So it behooves us to find out again what is the function of that behavior. Once we understand it, we would be in a better place to be able to help that individual. It can be a child, it can be an adult, but just figure out how best to help them. The older they are, the more we listen to them. And we shouldn't be telling them, oh, get over it. It's not about getting over it. It's about us, the environment, understanding what they're trying to say, what they're trying to communicate, the best way they know how, so that we're able to help them. So I hope this throws some kind of light on the so-called meltdowns, that it's a situation of that individual simply being overwhelmed. Thank you.